be seated. Let the record reflect that the defendant is present along with counsel for the defendant, assistant state attorney. Both sides ready to proceed. Y'all ready?
Yes, subject to previous motions.
Okay. Who's going to be your next witness?
Dr. Pizarro?
Okay. When it gets to be 4 o'clock, or a minute or two before 4, we're going to have to stop because I got a short conference call I got to do from Tallahassee.
That shouldn't be a problem. That might be the right time.
Yeah. And whatever time I take from you, I give it to you at the back end. Okay? Let's return to jury.
All rise for reentry.
Okay, maybe see. State recognized persons of jury.
Yes.
Defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
And members of the jury, did you follow all of my previous instructions?
Yes.
All right, the defense may call the next witness.
Defense would call Dr. Maria Pizarro.
Please raise your right hand, face the clerk.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Okay.
Good afternoon. Could you state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes. My name is Maria, and my last name is Pizarro. P as in Peter, I, Z as in zebra, A-R-R-O.
Okay, and I just ask if you might need to pull the microphone closer to you so that everyone can hear you. And is it my understanding you're Dr. Pizarro?
Yes.
And Dr. Pizarro, what is your current profession?
I'm a nurse practitioner,
And in what field do you practice?
psychiatric,
And who are you currently employed with?
and New Path in Christian Counseling.
May I approach?
You right?
Dr. Pizarro, I'm showing you what's been previously marked as Defense Identification A. Do you recognize those documents? You could take a minute to look through them if you need to.
Yes. It's my psychiatric evaluation and medical records. I recognize these documents.
So those are documents that you've created?
Yes.
And those documents, are those something that you normally keep and have created and use in the normal course of your business?
Yes.
And are they true and correct copies of the original documents that you created in the course of your business?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, I would ask that Defense Exhibit A be entered as defense evidence.
Would say it's the state.
Object to the hearsay.
Approach. And let me see the documents. members of the jury, there are going to be some legal matters we're going to need to take up outside of your presence. We will get back with you as quickly as possible. Please do not discuss this case among yourselves. And please remember all the other previous instructions I've given you. Thank you. Just a second before we proceed. Although you offered these under the business records exception, they're probably more properly admittable under 90.8034 statements of diagnostic or treatment. But you can proceed. I'm going to use both of those avenues to examine each document that you will present.
If you'd like, Your Honor, why don't I provide the court then with the exhibit itself, since I have a duplicate?
Does the state have a copy?
Yes.
Would you want to use the Elmore with the doctor, then that way she can see him?
That might be easiest.
Okay. Here's the projector. The projector, I don't think it's turned on. Down to the bottom. Mr. Williams, if you don't mind.
Dr. Pizarro, I'm showing you what's noted as an initial evaluation, dated, it appears 5/15/2003. It's page 1. And page 2. And is that your signature at the bottom?
Yes.
And is this something that you would have relied on in treating Mr. Rodriguez as a patient?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask that page 1 and 2, the initial evaluation be entered.
Ms. Purdy? Ms. Purdy?
Your Honor, Dr. Pizarro has not been qualified as an expert witness in this case as of yet. If any of these documents contained statements of her opinion, I would object.
All right, based upon 90.8034, this document is admissible. Next one.
Do you recognize that document, Dr. Pizarro?
Yes,
And this appears to be dated September 22nd of 2004, and is that your signature on it?
correct, yes.
And is this a progress note that you made after meeting with Jason Rodriguez?
Yes,
I'd ask you to admit the progress note dated September 22nd, 2004.
Ma'am, let me ask you a question. Is this particular document pertinent to was pertinent to you in diagnosis and treatment of Mr. Rodriguez?
yes,
Any objections from the state?
No, on that basis.
That would be admissible.
And what's described as a psychiatric evaluation dated January 15th, 2007. At the bottom of that, where it says primary care physician, is that you?
no,
And was this something that you wrote or something that someone else in the practice wrote?
I wrote it.
You wrote
Yes,
that. Did you rely upon this in your treatment of Mr. Rodriguez?
yes,
I'd ask that the psychiatric evaluation from January 15th, 2007 be admitted.
State?
May I ask the witness a question?
You may.
How was this document utilized to assist you in your treatment of Mr. Rodriguez?
This was in regard to the symptoms presented by the patient at that time, the questions that we usually ask to come up with a diagnosis and a treatment, so they're very reliable.
All right. What is the date on that?
January 15th, 2007.
And who authored that document?
Excuse me?
Who made the entries on the document
I did,
in response to questions that you asked of him?
correct.
No other questions, Your Honor.
And also observations.
Admissible.
This is, document appears to be from the same day, January 15th, 2007. Is this something that the patients fill out at your office?
Yes,
And do you rely upon the information that they provide in this? Does this guide you in your treatment of Mr. Rodriguez in any way?
there's a part that says why the patients are at that location at that time, but that is all that we use. We use this information as demographics for the patients.
Is there anything in here that would have guided you in your treatment or in your,
Yes,
your appointment with Mr.
Yes.
Rodriguez on January?
yes. For example, if there's a known allergies or any symptoms that the patient may be feeling, and also that the patient is employed and who is the employer.
So that's this area
Mhm.
here, and then here the clinical information that they fill in where they know what their chief complaint is.
Correct.
I'd ask that this document be admitted, Your Honor.
State?
No inquiry.
It's admissible since there are no objection to the insurance information and patient information, but the clinical information, it'll be admitted. Next one.
Again, dated January 15th, 2007. Is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office?
Yes.
And is this a standard form that you fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients fill out when they come to your office? Yes. And is this a standard form that patients
Yes.
Is there anything unique about this form that you may have discussed with the patient that day?
Yes, we discussed how we're going to use this form in regard to their information, personal information, and how we're going to use that information in releasing to other providers and whoever asks for that information.
So this would have been discussed with Mr. Rodriguez that
Mm-hmm.
day? I would ask that this form be entered, Your Honor.
Object to the relevance, and the witness has not testified that there are any statements by the patient regarding symptoms or other conditions.
Objection to be sustained.
This is what appears to be labeled a patient questionnaire. And at the bottom, also appears to be dated January 15th, 2007. Is this something that's filled out by the patient himself, or is it something that you as the doctor or treating physician fill out while you're working with the patient?
It is usually completed by the patient before the patient is seen.
No objection, it'll be admitted.
These appear to be copies of the actual prescriptions. Is that a prescription that you are authorized legally to write, or is that something that must be created by a medical doctor?
Well, antipsychotics medication, nurse practitioners can prescribe. That's why my name is there. And the controlled substance are supervised by my Dr. Martinez, who was my supervisor at that time.
But this is not, other than being a record within the Greater Orlando Psychiatric Associates records, this would have been something created after consultation with the patient?
Correct.
Before he left the office?
Yes,
correct?
yes.
One aspect of this one.
Okay.
We move into, it appears to be January 29th of 2007. Also noted as progress note, is that your signature at the bottom?
Yes,
And is this a form that you created after consultation with Mr. Rodriguez that day?
yes.
And is this something that you rely upon?
No objection to this one.
Okay. All right.
And it appears that there are 3 pages to that. That's page 2, correct? And this is page 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's part of the psychiatric evaluation.
That's all 3 pages. Excuse me.
I take it you have no objections to the other 2 pages that was a part of it?
That contains his statement of his complaint. No.
Okay.
And is this your progress note from February 12th, 2007?
Yes,
And is this something that you would rely upon in your work with Jason Rodriguez in this treatment?
yes,
And it asks that this be entered, Your Honor.
What's it?
No objection.
Okay.
And Dr. Pizarro, this is also noted, progress note from February 12th, 2007. Is this document essentially the same as the typewritten document that we just reviewed?
correct.
So, am I correct in understanding you would handwrite your notes initially on this form
Mhm.
first, and then later type them?
Correct.
I'm not going to ask to enter the handwritten
Okay.
document. And this is worded as progress note from March 7th, 2007. Is that a progress note that you created?
Yes,
March what?
March 7th, 2007?
No
Okay.
objection.
All right, no objections.
something labeled an excuse slip, indicating that Jason Rodriguez, it appears to say, patient not fit to work until 3/12/07. Is that your signature at the bottom?
Yes,
And is this something that you wrote after consultation with Mr. Rodriguez?
yes,
And would this be something that you would rely upon for his course of treatment in the future?
correct, yes.
I'd ask that this be allowed in Your Honor.
Ma'am, how would you be relying upon an excuse slip that you wrote to have him out of work for a few days for your course of treatment in the future?
Well, when he was assessed that day, I noticed that he was not fit to work mentally, so it was provided to him, so he needs to take some couple of days off from work.
I understand what it is, but how is it that you were utilizing it in connection with his treatment?
Well, I will take time to assess his progress because he needs to be seen within a certain amount of time again to see how well he was doing or if he has improved. His condition has improved.
Your Honor, I object. This document does not contain any statements.
Objection sustained.
And this is a progress note dated March 27, 2007. Is that your signature at the bottom?
Yes,
And is this a progress note that you created and would rely upon in the course of treatment with Mr. Rodriguez?
yes,
No objections.
Okay?
This is a handwritten progress note dated April 26, 2007. Is that your signature at the bottom?
yes,
And would you rely upon this in your treatment of Mr. Rodriguez?
yes,
I ask that this be allowed in Your Honor. There's no typewritten version of this note.
No objection.
Okay?
Again, another handwritten progress note, May 24th, 2007. Is that your signature at the bottom?
yes,
And would you rely upon this in the course of treatment with Mr. Rodriguez?
yes.
I would ask that this be entered, Your Honor. There's no typewritten version of the May 24th.
Okay.
The one page? It's one page?
Just one page.
No objection.
I gotta run up here to make this call, but I kind of think y'all have the gist of where we are. The next thing, these prescriptions, payment plan, y'all can go through them and then we can finish these when I come back. I won't be gone that long, but I kind of think if y'all kind of finish looking at them, y'all may be able to come to some agreement. If you can't, then we'll just continue this process, but I think you all have a general understanding of where we headed.
May the witness step out of the box?
Yes, the witness may step out of the box. I'll be back in at least 10 minutes. Maybe 15.
It's not a statement.
Oh, yeah, this is summary.
rise. We'll come to order.
May be seated.
Peter, we have one brief issue to address with scheduling.
Yes, ma'am.
We had Dr. Means prepared here to testify. He has a deposition for Spencer hearing at 5 o'clock today, for which he's testifying around Cala all day. So I'd like to excuse him.
That's fine.
Dr. Pizarro, be our last witness for the day.
Okay.
Okay, can I just come over?
Yes, ma'am. Did y'all make any headway on the remaining ones?
We did, Your Honor. There's just 2 items we'd like you to issue a ruling on.
Okay.
If we go into it, the date at the bottom of it is June 26, 2007. It's labeled authorization for release of confidential information.
Okay.
This we have some dispute over. Dr. Pizarro, if you look at this document, there's a note here at the bottom that appears to be written by the patient, Jason Rodriguez. I'm not sure if you can read it from there.
No, I can't.
No,
Yes, you can hand it to her.
the highlighted portion. Do you recall, you have time to read the whole thing?
Yeah.
Do you recall?
Let me see that for just a second, make sure I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at. Okay.
Do you recall making any special note of that in your treatment with Mr. Rodriguez subsequent to this document being signed on June 26th?
I will need to see the document on the 20.
It appears
27.
up the next, and we've agreed on that.
Why don't you read what the language says, since the record can't read it itself?
Sorry, it's a note that says, do not agree with this policy in another forum. This document will be further investigated. And then, Dr. Pizarro, this is your progress note from it appears the next time you would have met with Ms. Rodriguez on June 29th.
Mhm.
My question again was, did your meeting with him on June 29th, did it encompass the note that he wrote on June 26th at all?
Okay, I believe that signature belongs to my supervisor, Ramon Martinez.
Okay.
So,
So this was not a progress note that you made?
no.
Okay, we'll exclude this then.
Okay.
This would have been, I believe, your next progress note stated July 17th.
Yeah, that's my signature.
From looking at this,
Mhm.
the note that he made on June 26th, would it have affected your treatment of Jason Rodriguez in any way later in July?
Yes.
And how is that?
Well, the symptoms that he was presenting at that time,
At which time?
the time that he made that statement, that he wrote that statement,
Okay.
can you repeat the date?
June 26th.
And did I see him on June 26th?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I believe that at that time, during that visit, the patient was delusional and paranoid, and he was medicated accordingly for that, for those problems.
On that basis, Your Honor, is why I would ask that what's described at the top as authorization for release of confidential information dated June 26th, that document be allowed in.
State?
Your Honor, we object to any statements not made for the purpose of medical diagnosis or treatment. I don't believe that the doctor has sufficiently explained how that statement written on an authorization form has met that requirement.
Doctor, how does the following statement, "Do not agree with this policy, and in order for this document will be further investigated," how did that statement, how was it relevant to his diagnosis or treatment?
Well, the patient, according to the note, progress note on that day, the patient was not feeling too well, and he has signs and symptoms of psychotic symptoms such as delusional, and was paranoid. So when he had to, I believe that when he had to sign that paper, he was not too happy with it. And the statement that he wrote there gave me the perception that he was delusional and afraid of the system, probably.
And that's evident by you related to something in a progress note that was dated on what date?
I believe on 6/26/2007.
At the time that this form was filled out on the 26th, when that statement was there, did you utilize that statement at that time and place for his treatment?
Yes.
And how did you do that?
Well, I prescribed antipsychotic, Zyprexa. At that time, I gave him samples. And it was the symptoms that he was presenting when he made the statement that he believes he was being followed by someone, and that also that his identity was stolen, and there was an investigation done by the FBI.
I see all of that in your progress notes. What I'm wrestling with, doctor, is there's no mention in your progress notes about this statement on that authorization for release of confidential information. Go ahead.
Can I respond to that? It's not usually written on the progress note. It's a format that we use for all the patients where we need to disclose information or obtain information about the medical records. And I believe by that statement that he was opposed to that, and he made that statement.
Repeat the last thing you said.
I believe that that statement came from the fact that he was opposed to that, to give the permission for the release of information, and he made that statement there.
And you utilize that statement in formulating some of the things that you saw in your progress notes dated June 26, 2007.
Probably I did. I don't recall.
I don't need probably. Either you did or you did.
Well, I did.
Okay. Are you sure, ma'am?
Can I see the
Yeah.
paper?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Showing the authorization and the progress notes of 6/26/07.
this information was being released to whom?
I don't know. May I ask the witness?
Yeah, you can.
Dr. Pizarro, I believe the issue that we're trying to get is the statement written by the patient on the authorization form. Was that addressed by you in meeting with the patient later that day on June 26th at any point in time? Would you have known that he made that statement when you met with him?
No.
And did that add to your diagnosis of paranoia?
No, I didn't know. I don't know which one was taken first. If I evaluate the patient first and then this information was signed by him or was before.
I'll withdraw the request, Your Honor.
Okay.
So we're just keeping, from June 26th, we're just keeping the progress.
Right. Okay, you
And
want to
then,
take, go ahead.
Your Honor, we're keeping the progress note dated July 17th. That's a handwritten progress note.
Why don't you take the exhibit,
Okay.
remove the ones that y'all have agreed on, show it to Mrs. Burdick, and then we can move on.
All right, there's only one thing more that we're not in agreement on.
All right?
That's the actual evaluation of the patient. Dr. Pizarro, is this a psychological evaluation that was done of Jason Rodriguez on September 27th, 2007?
Yes, it's a psychological evaluation.
The last 4 pages to it. I'll show you the last page. Did you personally participate in this evaluation at all?
No,
Is that normal that you would not sit in on an evaluation?
yes, it's not.
So you could not testify directly to anything that's written in here. This was not authored by you in any way.
No, the patient was referred by me.
But this document itself, did you actually write any of this?
No.
All right. We'll keep this out.
Okay? All right, here's the exhibit. And you and Miss Burdick, after you remove those documents, kindly take a look at it. Thank you. That phone call took care of what I was supposed to do. Okay, Ms. Burdick, have you had an opportunity to review the exhibit?
I'm doing that as
Oh, thank you.
she just handed it to me.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections?
No further objections.
Okay. Then let's bring the jury in and we can continue. All right, you may be seated. State recognized presence of jury. Defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, members of the jury, did you follow all of my previous instructions during the recess? Yes. All right, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Pizarro, I believe we left off with, we were speaking about your profession, and you indicated that you're a nurse practitioner in the field of psychology,
Psychiatry.
psychiatric? Okay. And could you tell us what degrees you have?
I have a bachelor degree in nursing, a master degree in nursing, and a PhD in clinical counseling.
And who are you currently employed with?
A new path in Christian counseling.
And what office were you employed with prior to A New Path?
I was with Greater Orlando Psychiatric Associates.
Okay. And what type of counseling do you do?
Christian.
And how does that relate to psychiatry?
Well, it relates because we deal with the problems of emotional and psychiatric problems of the patient with a Christian perspective.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Doctor, speak up, lean closer to the mic and speak a little louder so that you.
Okay.
If you would, your answer to the last question.
It relates because we treat patients with emotional and mental illnesses with a Christian perspective. That's how I perform nowadays in a Christian setting.
Okay. And in the course of your practice, do you recognize the name Jason Samuel Rodriguez?
Yes.
And how did you meet Mr. Rodriguez?
I met Mr. Rodriguez when I was working for Greater Orlando Psychiatric Associates in the year 2003. And
Was he, in what context did you meet him?
just to see him as a patient, I did the first evaluation,
Okay.
psychiatric evaluation.
And do you see Mr. Rodriguez in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you point to him and identify an article of clothing he's wearing?
Okay. Blue shirt.
Would you, Your Honor, would the record reflect that she's identified the defendant, Jason Rodriguez?
The record will so indicate.
And you stated that you met Mr. Rodriguez first in 2003.
Yes.
Do you recall any specifics of your initial meeting with him?
Just the fact that he was depressed and anxious.
Okay. Would it refresh your recollection to see the medical records from your office at that time?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
It's showing you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit A. And, Your Honor, I believe on the record, did we put on the record that that's been entered as evidence with a number yet?
You can offer anytime.
I would offer it as evidence in the defense case as number 1, I believe it would be.
Objections? It will be received in evidence as defense number. Okay.
And Dr. Pizarro, without actually reading from the record itself, in 2003, what was the exact date that you first met Mr. Rodriguez?
I believe it was May 15, 2003, when the psychiatric evaluation was conducted.
Did you have any specific concerns that you noted with Mr. Rodriguez in 2003?
Can I see the evaluation of the
You may refer to it, yes.
It's not here.
May 15th, the initial evaluation.
Mhm.
May I approach?
You may.
I have this, but this is 2007. I have it here.
But there was nothing, to the best of your memory then, there's nothing unusual that you noted with Mr. Rodriguez, merely that he was seeking treatment from you that day.
Yeah, he was diagnosed with a major depressive disorder.
Major depressive
Recurrent, yes.
disorder. Okay.
I remember.
Let me move on then to what was the next appointment that it appears from the records that Mr. Rodriguez had with you?
Well, I saw him several times during 2003 and 4, but I don't have access to those records because they were destroyed, because they only can be saved for 7 years.
But you only remember seeing him a couple of times?
Yeah.
Okay. And in 2004, was there a specific diagnosis for Mr. Rodriguez?
As
Your Honor, I'm going to object to her offering an opinion.
I'm simply asking that she refer to the business records themselves for a diagnosis.
well,
Just a second. Sustain until you establish the foundation. Just find out what she's testifying from her memory, based upon the records or what. Virginia.
Do you recall working with Mr. Rodriguez in 2004 on any specific mental health issues?
Yes, I remember, but I don't remember the issues at that time, and I don't have the records.
And from the progress notes that are in evidence from 2004, it does not indicate to you what his diagnosis was.
Can I read the...
You may refer to them, yes.
As I can see from this record, the medication that he was taking and how he was feeling, and the fact that he was referred for counseling to another provider, he was still having problem with depressed mood and anxiety.
Okay, thank you. And what is the next date that you would have seen Mr. Rodriguez on, according to your records?
Every 3 to 4 weeks.
But according to the records that have actually been provided in evidence, according to the business records, what's the next date that Mr. Rodriguez would have been at your practice?
What is it, 9, 10? Well, he was in my practice. I don't recall because I don't have the information. He would be within a month in my practice, but I don't have the progress note with me.
Okay, may I approach?
You may.
I publish to the jury, Your Honor.
You may. And you're publishing defense one.
Defense 1. Page 2. Defense 1, Dr. Pizarro, over your left shoulder. Is that your notes?
Yes. Yes.
And what is the date on that note?
January 15, 2007.
But your recollection tells you that between 2004 and 2007, you did see Mr. Rodriguez or not?
I believe that I see him.
Do you believe you would have seen
Yes.
him? Okay. Do you recall how many times you would have seen him?
More than 2.
Okay. And in 2007, you've already testified that he was showing major depressive disorder. In 2007, did he continue to have that same issue?
In 2007, he was showing psychotic symptoms.
Okay. I'm showing what's defense 1, page 4. In 2007, the date on this is January 15th. Where did Mr. Rodriguez indicate that he was working?
Name of employer,
Yes.
Smith Hills, or Reno Smith Hills.
Okay. And this patient questionnaire, this would be page 5 of defense 1. Is that something that is filled out by you or something that's filled out by the patient himself?
By the patient himself.
And on this record, what did Mr. Rodriguez, I'm sorry, let me ask you more specifically, in the portions where he's checked all that apply, did he check off that he was suffering from paranoia? that's indicating, I believe it says you returned a phone call to whom?
So patient's mother.
So his mother had called you and you simply made a phone call back, but you
Yes,
didn't have
I-
a chance to speak with her.
Yes, I was notified that she had called. When I returned the phone call, she was not there, so I left a message that I was calling.
Okay. And a few days later, on June 26th, do your notes indicate that this was a normal appointment with Mr. Rodriguez, or was this something different?
This appointment was, the patient arrived on an urgent basis. He didn't have an
What would
appointment.
that indicate to you when you worded as urgent basis?
That he was not stable, he was having a lot of problems, and he needs to be seen just right there.
So this was his demand to you
Mhm.
that he needed to be seen, not a normal appointment?
Correct.
Okay. And again, it appears that you changed some medications for him.
Yes, based on the symptomatology that he presented at that time, I did.
And the symptomology, where in the document are you noting that, the first or second paragraph?
The first paragraph.
And that would be this portion in here.
Yes, and the symptoms that his face was red and he was severe sweating. And when he was telling me that he was not feeling well and complaining about the medications.
Was he complaining about were there any specific things he was saying that indicated to you symptoms of a mental illness?
He just stated he wasn't feeling well and that the medication was not effective. And then he made the statement about the FBI. The patient stated that he believed his identity was stolen and there was an investigation being done by the FBI about this. He saw a picture of his face with some male parts and he referred to them as their penis. And he also stated that someone was trying to hurt him to the point that he lost his job and needs to do something about this.
He also appears your notes indicate that it's written, in order to balance out my intelligence,
Mhm.
I need to get a license to get some pot. Can you help me? Was he asking you for a medical marijuana prescription or asking you for recreational use pot, if you recall?
Medical use.
And your notes from July 17th indicate that he was admitted to, what would FH East stand for?
Florida Hospital East.
And would that be hospital for a medical emergency or psychiatric?
Psychiatric.
And did you personally admit him, or are you simply making note
I'm-
of an admission you learned about?
Yes, I'm making notes of an admission that I learned about. And while he was admitted at Florida East, then I believe he was assessed and then transferred to a psychiatric unit.
And what does DX right here stand for?
Diagnosis,
And that reads bipolar
1.
with schizophrenic features.
Yes, bipolar 1 disorder with schizophrenic features.
And the next time you see Mr. Rodriguez in August, has he improved?
Yes.
And what does affect, here where you say his affect was bright, what does that mean in layman's terms?
He has an expression when he's happy. He show it when he have a full expression.
Okay. And then it appears you see him again in September 2007. And again, is he improved or worsened? Or about the same?
Yeah, he was doing well, feeling better. He was searching for a job.
Okay. And then I'm going to move ahead to January 24th, 2008. You're indicating no show, meaning he missed an appointment.
Yes.
And then again, January 29th, about a week later, again a no-show.
No show.
After January 29th of 2008, did you see Mr. Rodriguez as a patient at all anymore?
No, that was the last visit.
All right,
Yes, sir.
thank you. No further questions.
Ross?
No cross-examination, Your Honor.
May the witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that concludes the presentation of evidence today. We're going to recess for the evening. I'm going to ask that you return back at 9:25 so we can get started at 9:30. Please remember all of my previous instructions. 1, do not discuss this case among yourselves nor with anyone else. Do not read, watch, or listen to any news accounts of this case, and do not do any internet research on this particular case. Any additional instructions on behalf of the state
Nothing, Your Honor.
or the defense? All right, members of the jury, you're hereby excused.
Jury exiting.
Victor, do they have everything that they need in terms of supplies? Because I want to go get them. You may be seated. How many more witnesses? I guess all of, I'm just trying to get an idea of when you think you'll be completed.
We would expect to complete our case either Thursday morning or early Thursday afternoon.
Okay.
Tomorrow, depending on how long things take, we might end a little early due to some scheduling, but I would think, in talking with the state, I think Thursday morning or early Thursday afternoon.
Okay. Do you have any idea of what lesser included you would be requesting?
No, but
Kind of start looking at that because I'm going to start putting together the instructions. All right. Anything else, folks, for the good of the order?
yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. We're in recess. Eight 45 in the morning, Vic?
Yes, sir.
You don't have another 8:30.
I got to wait on.